And welcome back to the Arizona Cardinals 20-year rebuild. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you're all having a great day. Please leave a like, comment down below what you thought of today's action, and don't forget to subscribe. Well, in year 8, we saw ourselves draft a rookie quarterback and then go out there and produce a 9-8 record. And as we now enter here in year 9, we're now starting to make the shift from, from a lot of players that we kind of know, like Jahmyr Gibbs. We've seen Marvin Harrison Jr. play a lot for us, a couple veterans there, and players that we've relied on throughout a majority of this series, players like Elijah Fletcher, Timmy Brumble. These guys are starting to get both older and kind of in their primes. Elijah Fletcher is now 28 years old. I remember when we traded for him from the Cleveland Browns, and he's developed very nicely for us all the way back in 2027. He's had a couple years where he didn't hit double-digit sacks, but throughout his time here with us, he's played amazing for us and continue trying to keep. This is the fine balance that needs to kind of occur. We are a solid football team, but do we continue to lean into the rebuild and try to continue to build for the future? Or do we start to try to take some shots and try to get some upgrades and try to get some very promising players? Jahmyr Gibbs, we signed him 5 seasons ago. He's now 31 years old. He's had only one dominant season with us, 2 years where he probably could have hit 1,000 yards, and this past year he didn't. What do we do with him? Do we give him this long-term? Do we give him an extension? He wants to be here, but if we decide not to keep Jahmyr Gibbs, then who do we turn to? Reggie Powell. Reggie's going to be entering into also a contract year, 25 years old, as it looks like my game has froze on me. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Hopefully we don't have any more of those type of technical difficulties. But as I was saying, 4th-year running back Reggie Powell, he is set to become our starter. Reggie is much more of a third down type of runner. He has a bit of, he's much more of a receiver in my opinion. I know his medium route running is terrible, but same thing probably with his deep. But at the end of the day, he has very good hands. He can catch the football out of the backfield. 25 years old. I mean, do we turn to him and try to just get cheaper at the receiver position? 2nd-year quarterback now in Will Brintley here. He's expected now to take, the necessary steps to become our franchise quarterback. I think he has been developing pretty nicely. I am not looking in this up-and-coming free agency to draft a quarterback. I am looking to very much try to improve and try to get a new identity to this team. As of right now, we don't really have a weapon that's young that we can sit here and say he's the guy. Wade Rayfield here, 27 years old. He theoretically could be the guy. He's the only receiver to ever have a 1,000-yard season in back-to-back years for us. And he has played very well for us throughout his time here. He's improved every year. He has 2 years left on his deal. And the reason I'm saying all this is because, after this season, we're going to have to make a decision on the 32-year-old going to be at the time, Marvin Harrison Jr., who has been dealing with injuries as of late. He's only hit 1,000 yards twice in his career. And, when you look at all of our other weapons, Joey Holmes has not played very well. Do we want to turn to a 2nd-year tight end in Bobby Summers? We have Mike Jenkins on this team, who is a solid veteran tight end. Regardless, I think we need to add some type of playmaker to this team. I really do. Now, one player to keep your eye out is Thad Phillips here. He is going to enter into year 2. He reminds me a lot, though, of Wade Wakefield. So it's hard to justify who do you put in the slot? Because Wade is your slot receiver. I don't know. I do think also in terms of this offensive line, we could look to try to get an upgrade. Blake Sherwood, first ever draft pick, he's starting to regress. I mean, he's already 30 years old. And, this is basically his peak. He's a solid lineman, and at the end of the day, that's it. But do we want to try to go out there and try to get an upgrade somewhere across this line? You could look at left guard Joe Ellis, who we drafted a season ago. We could look to upgrade against him. Joey Douglas and Chase Green. These guys are not being paid a whole lot of money. And then you have Paris Johnson here, who is truly, the leader of this offensive line. And, I'm not looking to move off of him, even though he's 32 years old. But regardless, he's coming off now. The last 3 years, he's allowed over 8 sacks. He has 2 years on his deal. He's at the peak of his contract as well. So offensively, I want to get some weapons. I want to maybe get an upgrade somewhere on this line. And then defensively, I think adding another corner. Last year we drafted Deion Fitzpatrick, and Fitzpatrick played pretty well for us throughout the season. And he is starting to develop pretty nicely for us. He's kind of like our future young corner. But regardless, we kind of need another corner either way, because Alex Murphy, he's expected to hit free agency. We could look to try to get another safety, linebacker. And then for this defensive line, as of right now, Cole Beckham's entering the last year of his deal, coming off of a breakout season. Do we look to try to add another edge rusher to basically replace Cole after this season? We'll see. But let's go through some retirements. And don't forget, guys, we're already 9 years into the future. And so we're going to start to seeing a lot of this franchise change. So, Nico Collins, Jeffrey Simmons, they both retire. AJ Terrell, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Patrick Mahomes retires. Devontae Smith, CeeDee Lamb, a lot of guys are starting to retire. And I wonder when we will start seeing players that were actually drafted. It's going to be fun. DK Metcalf retires. Aaron Brewer. A lot of names. So let's get to the re-signing phase and make some decisions for year 6 or 9, excuse me. Well, we have $90 million to work with, and here are the decisions to be made. Not a lot to, if you really think about it. Buckner and Cole, we're gonna let test, meaning that we're gonna need new special teamers. And all of these guys down here are just kind of just depth players for us. Nothing important. We're gonna be letting go Justin Herbert. Herbert's 35 years old, 78 overall. He's still playable, absolutely. And I bet if we started him last year, he probably would have played kind of okay. But I think his time here in AZ was well spent. I know we never won a Super Bowl or got to the NFC Championship game, but he had 2 very good seasons for us, and he put together a couple solid years. Hopefully he goes off and, signs with another team and starts teaching someone. Someone like Daniel Cash, we drafted his replacement, and Cash is going to walk. Alex Murphy, who I traded for, will also walk. Rashad Kitchens, I like him. He's interesting at 6'9", but it really does not make a whole lot of sense for us to try to keep him. I mean, his route, that's the thing. He's starting to really develop for us, and he only does want a 1-year deal. Maybe we give him a 2-year worth close to like $6 million. Let's do this. I talked myself into re-signing the 6'9" tight end. Tremaine Weston here. Trying to pick up the 5th-year option here. 25 years old. I think this makes a lot of sense for us. He's a good young safety. And, he doesn't have a lot of interest in being here. And one less position that we have to really focus in on. So really, it's just now Jahmyr Gibbs. Do I want to give him a 2-year, $19 million? And I kind of do, honestly, because I think he gives us the best chance for a productive runner. So I'm going to give him a 2-year, $20 million. We keep Jahmyr Gibbs. Just trying to keep as much of the best playmakers that we possibly can. And here is open free agency. Derek Stingley's out here, Nick Bosa, Parker Elliott here, a big-time offensive lineman. A corner here, and Tyrone McKay, Tyler Linderbaum. So we're starting to see now these off seasons be much more draft classes. So there's probably a few players that I'm going to be wanting to target. Corner might be one of those positions, especially with Derek Stingley out there. When you look at the roster after letting a lot of players go, depth across the offensive line, and currently we have all the same weapons. I think we should still try to add another. And then defensively, linebacker is definitely a need. Corner could be also a need as well. I think the defensive line is solid, but I would say really linebacker and corner are our two biggest needs. So I got 2 targets in this first round of free agency because the game has taken away 2 out of my 5. But Tyrone McKay here, the 25-year-old cornerback, very interested. He's 6'3", 95 speed. He has good coverage ratings. And I'm trying to get him to like a 6-year contract. I think this would be key. I want him over Derek Stingley due to the fact that we are still in a rebuild. And I think Stingley would have made more sense if, you know, Justin Herbert was still here making a lot of good plays for us. I think Stingley would have made more sense at that time. I'm trying to get younger and quality starters here. Darren Spellman here. He's a very solid off-ball linebacker that plays outside. So 2 25-year-olds. Hopefully we can land on Tyrone. That would be very nice, and we did. So welcome to Arizona. He officially becomes, I believe, our #1 corner. But we got ourselves a big-time playmaker, a bit injury-prone, but I'm excited to bring him in. Played a few years in Minnesota. He's only had 2 interceptions, but I'm very much banking on him. And the contract, yes, it's a lot of money, but it's not something that I'm too really worried about. And then Darren Spillman here, we've given him a very competitive offer, and he does sign. So we got ourselves 2 solid defenders that will start for the next handful of seasons. I really like the beginning of free agency here. There might be a couple other small moves that I make due to the fact we have still $56 million, but let's sim to the next week. Trying just to fill out the rest of the roster here. Sean Haynes here, kicker. We're going to target. Same thing with J.K. Scott. Ray Parrish, who's a deep threat receiver. Just trying to add some quality depth. Kevin Goins is another pass rusher. Trying to reunite with Garrett Williams here. He's a mentor. And Trevor Lawrence is also a mentor as we are trying to develop a couple key starters for this team. As we do get our punter, our 4th or 5th receiver, another pass rusher, another corner. Overall, I like this. We'll see if Shaw Keys does sign with us, but let's now move to the draft. So, excuse me, current state of the team here. As we can see here, you know, we have a lot of receivers that are going to be fighting for that 3rd role. You know, we brought back Jahmyr Gibbs, meaning that running back could still be in position here as Reggie Powell's entering the last year of his deal. You know, we have Will Britley at quarterback. The offensive line is solid. It's average in my opinion. Bobby Springs will probably start. You know, I think we can go in a variety of different directions on how we really think the board falls to us. But I think that this draft is kind of setting us up to take the best player available. I don't remember all of our selections. So we have the 13th pick, the 15th pick. So we have 2 first-round picks, a 2nd, a 4, a 5, 6, and 7. So 3 picks in the top 55, and 2 of them are in the first round. So overall, I don't really have a favorite player. So we're just gonna kind of get to the draft or get to our pick. So like I said, I'm taking the best player available on my board. And Cameron Wallace, for starters, the only top 5 prospect that we have. But look at this. A's across the board, 22 years old, an athletic freak at center. Wow. The F injury is the only pause of concern. Maybe the run block power, but I mean, I like Cameron Wall here. We're gonna take Wall with our first round pick, the 13th overall selection. And I hope that this beefs up this offensive line. Something that we really haven't done. And it's an A. He was the #1 ranked player in this class. That is huge. 90 strength. I don't know why I'm so... 90 strength, hidden development, center, 77 speed as well. 300 pounds at 6'3". Wow. You know, and we're going to be picking in just a moment here again. I just wanted to show you guys this, but the Dallas Cowboys would give us the King's ransom, the rest of their draft picks, for the 15th pick. I don't know who they really like here. I don't think that this is a spot where that makes a whole lot of sense. I don't think that we need just like 100 picks coming to this team. I think we need to take the best players. Currently, you know, Akeem Honeycutt, you know, he's a safety. He has round 1 talent. We could look to select him. He looks to be the fastest safety in the class. The top 5 prospect is a quarterback, Sean Johnson here. I'm not looking to select him. We could consider taking a tackle, but we just drafted an offensive lineman. I don't think that makes a lot of sense for us. Jared McLingen here. He's a playmaking wide receiver. I think we have a lot of depth already and a lot of talent already. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. DeAndre Raymond, a running back. Could that make sense? Honestly, I think that this makes sense to either take a Honeycutt or just trade and try to get a first-round pick next year. And we're gonna trade this pick. I'm sending it to the Cincinnati Bengals. We're gonna pick up an extra 3rd this year, but they're next year's first-round pick. So, I felt that this Honeycutt would have been the best player on my board, and they go up to get the receiver. So, as much as I like Honeycutt, and I think he is a very good prospect for us, I just, from day one, I don't think that he would make such an impact. And drafting 2 safety, you know, sure, he could have played strong safety, but I think we're, you know, I want to give Howard an opportunity. You know, he's only played 1 season for us. He's a very interesting prospect. And I think he has room to develop here, as we drafted him in the 2nd round a year ago. So I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense. So we're going to get now into the 2nd round and further. I know I wasn't talking about drafting a safety, and we're here in the 2nd round, guys. I think it would be cheap if I trade out of this pick. And Chris Branch, in my opinion, is the best player on the board. So Branch will be the selection, and he's a hybrid safety, 22nd ranked player. Hidden development, solid enough athlete. I know I just said I was going to trade up to get a safety. Regardless, I did draft one here. But yeah, I think he makes a lot of sense just to add quality players. Here in the early parts of the 3rd round, we're going to go with Jerry Jones here. I guess the Cowboys owner wants to play football. Jerry Jones is the selection. Hidden development, off-ball linebacker, more of a run stopper. But 3 players with hidden development. Here in the 4th round, we're going to go with Richard Morris, a talent of 2 to 3. Intriguing 6'6" receiver. We'll take him in the 4th round. Ranked 66. Normal dev though, but with 90 speed. Intriguing prospect. And best player again on the board. Here in the 5th round, we're going to go with Justin Lay, a solid depth corner. I think he could potentially be. And Justin's ranked 80th in the class. Hidden development again. Wow. 4th hidden development player I have drafted today. I'm on fire. Going with David Cooper here, tight end. Very intrigued with his skill set, and he's not very good, but hidden development with 85 speed. He is the ranked 346 player. But we got another hidden development player. I don't know what the fuck's happening with me. Brad Tillman, quarterback. He's going to be here in the 7th round will be our selection. Okay, 90 throw power. I think we got ourselves maybe a solid young quarterback to develop as a solid backup. We've already done it a couple times. What do you think of the draft class, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, we got, in my opinion at least, a big-time starter, and we did. Cameron Wall, #1 ranked player in the class, 84 overall to start off, already a top 10 center. And the F injury was 7, it brings him to a 78 injury rating. But wow, we got a big man that can move. And yeah, he's built more for the interior. He might play guard for us, but we just got ourselves a huge addition to the team. In the 2nd round, I decided to take Chris Branch, best player on the board. And he can play a little bit of, corner, it looks like, in the slot. He can play safe, or he's mostly a free safety. But Chris Branch, solid addition to the secondary. Then we drafted Jerry Jones here, a linebacker, more of a run stopper, 94 hit power. So from day one, he's able to hopefully force some fumbles for us. And then I drafted Richard Morris, again, best player on my board. The 6'6", 90 speed receiver has, he needs time to develop for us. Then I drafted Justin Lay, another hidden development, but he's a depth corner for us. That's all he will probably become for us. But if he could develop into our 4th guy, that would be pretty nice for us. I took David Cooper here, 61 overall, but hidden development. 85 speed, very good athleticism. He just can't really play just yet. We'll see what he can become. And then finally, Brad Tillman here, 65 overall rookie quarterback. Can kind of move a little bit. 90 throw power, that's kind of like the bare minimum for me. But I like the class. I think, all around we got some, we got an offensive lineman day 1 starter. And then we have, 4 guys right here that really just need time to develop and maybe become role players, maybe become someone that we look to trade. Who knows down the line? I did decide to pass up on, I could have drafted a safety here at 15. Jordan here is a 76 overall. I decided to pass up on Honeycomb here. Let's find him. He was drafted by the Broncos, 77 overall. And I think he's just a little bit more, he's definitely faster, maybe a little bit more awareness than our safety. But solid prospect there. We see Isaac Mann here, 80 overall corner. And as you guys can see, we got the best player in the class by a long shot here. Honeycomb, who I consider was really like a top 10 prospect, and that would have been nice. The Philadelphia Eagles drafted themselves a top 5 quarterback here, and Sean Johnson here. I don't know their quarterback situation. But yeah, guys, here are some of the top prospects. There is one player that I want to point out that I really liked. I don't know when he would have been drafted. Let's see, probably in like the 5th round. He was a running back. Oh God, this is probably not the best way for me to sort this. Let me find him real quick. Now, I had no idea Frank Royal would have been a 73 overall. He was a UDFA projected player, but I was intrigued with him because of his speed and that break tackle. But 78 speed, 78 agility to start off, and he has hidden development. He would have been a fun pick to draft. Yeah, and he was drafted to the 5th round by the Lions. And I don't normally do this, but I really want Frank Royal, and the Miami Dolphins, who are the actual team that drafted him, really needed a quarterback. So I'm sending them our third string. Frank was also their third string, swapping some late round picks. I think that this makes a lot of sense for both teams. But yeah, guys, let's get to the regular season and see how we shake up this roster. And to bring us to 53 men, I'm trading Mike Jenkins here to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need a tight end. We get a couple late round picks. As we're about to kick off year number 9, this will be second year quarterback Will Brittley's second full season as the starter. And we're gonna give him the captain's patch. He's the guy here, and this is his, really this year, this is his opportunity to take over. You know, prove to me that you're the guy that we should continue to build forward with. You know, we kept Jahmyr Gibbs. We still have Marvin Harrison Jr. You legitimately have 6 wide receivers. Yes, we downgraded with Mike Jenkins, but Bobby Summers is a quality tight end. And we kept David Cooper, the late round rookie that we drafted. Cameron Wall, the first pick in this past class, he's actually going to be playing at left guard to start this season. I'm hoping with these 5 linemen that Brittley will have plenty of time and we can make some more holes. Defensively, you know, we went out there, we signed a couple big time starters. Tyrone McKinney, our new number 1 corner, hoping that his speed and good coverage ability can really help us out. We also signed David Spillman here, who is a solid off-ball linebacker. We drafted a couple young star defenders. And yeah, guys, we're hoping some big things here from the youth of this team that's in their their third year, their second or third years and lower. And we're hoping that the veterans can, you know, continue to produce for us. We need Jahmyr Gibbs and Marvin Harrison Jr. to play well. And this is not off to a good start here as we start off 0-1. We went 7-9 or 7-8 or something like that, or 7-10 a year ago. And we're just not starting this season off particularly well. Back-to-back losses. We finally get our first victory over San Francisco. Let's try to get back to 500 now. We got the Colts here, who we lose to. We fall to 1-3. Let me sim by myself and see if we can turn it around. Well, we have fought and clawed all the way back to become 4-4. So we've made it all the way here to week number 9. Currently a 500 team. You know, we started off the year 1-3, and now in the last 4, we're 3-1. It's kind of nice to see. But overall, guys, you know, the schedule seems pretty tough. 4-4 so far. How have we gotten to this point, and is there any adjustments that I need to be made? As we're halfway through year number 9, Will Brittley has thrown 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. We've actually seen Trevor Lawrence play some more. Don't love that. Jahmyr Gibbs, 6 scores, 300 yards on the ground. Both Reggie and it looks like Frank are getting a little bit of playing time as well. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is off to a hot start, 600 yards and 5 scores. Neat to see that. Wade Wakefield, 4 scores. Bobby Summers is having a solid year too. We're seeing some other guys make some plays out of the backfield as well. Paris Johnson to start off this season has allowed already 10 sacks. Wow, that is not something that I was expecting to see. You have to keep an eye on Paris Johnson right now. Defensively, Elijah Fletcher starting off very hot, 11 TFLs, 7 sacks. Thurman, 5 TFLs, 3.5 sacks. And Jalen Dixon has 3 as well. A little bit of a step back here for Cole Beckham. And Tyrone here already has 3 interceptions, a career high for him. And we're seeing other guys getting some turnovers. It's nice to see. Currently, we have a top 10 offense, and that's probably mostly due to the passing game. And about a 16th ranked defense, so pretty average. I would say, let's see the up-and-coming free agents. We have $135 million. You know, Cole Beckham needs a new deal. Marvin Harrison Jr. needs a new deal. Alan Williams, Timmy Brimble, Reggie Powell. I mean, some of these guys are important starters to this team. Yeah, I don't know just yet what I want to do with all of these guys. Some of them I actually might look to trade, as Joey Holmes here. He needs a 5th-year option next year. And actually, I didn't even see his stats. He wasn't even in the top 3 or 4. As he's not doing much. I don't know what's up with Joey Holmes here. You know, we drafted him in the top 10 and he has not produced whatsoever. I am going to be making a trade here with Ray Parrish not really playing for us, and you know, we can get a solid pick for him. We get a 3rd-round pick for the Phillies. As we also trade away Ty Cooks. He's been a solid defensive tackle for us, but I think it's just time to make a couple trades here for us. Well, we have made it to week 15. We're currently 4-9. A very much of an abysmal season. Losing now our last 5 straight games. You know, we just haven't been able to figure it out much at all. We've lost multiple close ball games, you know, and now past the bye week, we have 4 games remaining. So far, it's just been such a challenging season. Taking a bit of a step back. That's a hard pill to swallow. As Will Britley here, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. You know, not off to a great start. He will have some upgrades. That's the end of the season, but less yards. So far, he's probably gonna break his touchdowns, but he's been sacked a lot. He's improved in his completion percentage. He's been able to throw the football more down the field, but 13 interceptions, he will probably have a career high in there. Jahmyr Gibbs have added 10 scores on the ground, but I think I'm going to move to Reggie Powell for the remaining of this season, as well as Frank Royal. Give the 2 young guys some opportunities. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Wade Rayfield look to hit 1,000 yards this campaign. Bobby Summers having a solid year. Gibbs providing a bit of that. Phillips played well, or he's played okay, I guess. Same thing here with Joey. So I'm going to turn to one of these young guys to play a bit more. Well, in these last now 5 weeks, Paris Johnson's only allowed 2 sacks. Better, but still. Cameron Wall here, the top tier center, playing tackle for us, or playing guard for us. He's allowed a good amount of sacks, and his hit of development is superstar. So getting a superstar lineman is rare and it's difficult. Happy we were able to do so. David Lawrence leads us in tackles. Elijah Fletcher leads us in sacks, as well as TFLs. We see Jalen Dixon. Looks like he's having a bit of a bounce back season from a year ago where, you know, in his first year broke out with 5.5, then he went to 2.5. Now he has 7. Happy to see him playing a bit better. Thurman with 5.5. Cole Beckham here with 5. And then Tyrone with 3 interceptions still. A couple other guys getting some picks. So 4 games to go here in year 9. How bad of a, or how good or bad of a selection, whichever perspective you have, will we get? We do, though, beat the Seahawks here, giving us now our 5th victory. And then we come back to lose to the Rams. 2 weeks to go. You know, we have $135 million. I've yet to make any sort of decision. And it's really tough, just because there's some players here that I would like to keep. But do I really want to overpay? Blake Sherwood will probably went into the end of the year for him. Kevin Goings, but Jalen Dixon is probably the first one I would want to start with. We're not a historically a championship type of team, but maybe if we give him a bit of money for the next 3 years, and Jalen Dixon does sign, I think he's played himself into a new deal. And then we have a couple guys here, like Reggie here, I might try to keep for another couple of seasons. Yeah, I just don't want to. I just don't want to wait until he likes to start an offer, so he wants a bit of money. I want to give us as many chances as we can. Timmy here, this is a tough one, but $10 million or a little close to 11 million for another season with him, I think that's solid for us. Marv's, we're gonna wait until the end, and then Cole Beckham, if he can get to 10, I will definitely extend him, but not making the postseason, back-to-back seasons for us. We've very much fallen off a cliff here, and it looks to be another below 500 season. Let's see the record for us if the game loads any slower. As we go 5-12. We haven't had a 5-12 record in I think since year 2. Unfortunate. I think Will Britley, a bit more of a gunslinger, same amount of passing yards, but more touchdowns, more interceptions. He threw the ball a lot more, and maybe that's due to a lack of a ground game. Frank produced okayly as a rookie. Let's see what we can do. But we had 2 1,000-yard receivers, a 700-yard tight end as well. So happy to see that. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. probably got himself another contract with us. 3rd straight year for Reggie, or why do I keep saying for Wayne Rayfield? I think I just keep seeing Wayne. I think of Reggie Wayne. Jahmyr Gibbs added 300 on the ground. Thad added almost 300 yards through the air. Reggie played pretty well. We saw Elijah Little get some playing time at the end of the season. So a few guys made some catches here and there. 15 sacks allowed here by Paris Johnson. Joey Douglas allowed 8. Not really a fan of seeing that. And Blake Sherwood did play. Regardless, solid season. Worried about these sack numbers here with Paris Johnson, though. Defensively, Devin Lawrence led us in tackles. TFLs was led by Elijah Fletcher. Thurman added 16 as well. Dixon had 9. Thurman with 7. 5 for Cole. A couple other guys got some sacks as well. Few interceptions. I don't expect to see many award winners for the Cardinals. But let's see. So far, nothing. Makes a lot of sense. We didn't have too many outstanding players. There was probably some that made in the top 10, but year 9 will end in sadness for us. We did have a couple Pro Bowlers, Tyrone McKee, the 4th corner, as well as Elijah Fletcher made it in as a pass rusher. As this year's Super Bowl champs are the Las Vegas Raiders beating the Chicago Bears 31-23, as I guess they've developed themselves into having very solid organizations. We haven't seen them. It's been kind of like the teams we expected here. But regardless, the Raiders are now your champs here. And we're coming into, going into next episode now with a little over $115 million, and probably a top selection as well if we look at our current picks. We're expected to have the #1 overall pick from Cincinnati. Don't forget this. We traded away the 15th pick a year ago, and we got the first overall pick. Wow. We'll also have another top 5 with our own. 2 3s, a 4, and a bunch of 6 and 7s. So we have a class where we could probably work the middle of it a little bit more, but maybe coming away with 2 more premier talent. I've yet to look at the draft, so we'll see. This is though an interesting spot. We have 2 top 5 selections, but we have 6 upgrade points here for Will. Really, the question is, do we give Will another chance, another year, or do we sit back and try to draft a quarterback with one of these selections in the top 5 and kind of restarting? He's had 2 years below 500, and, the team, will eventually kind of get better over time, but we already see Marvin Harrison Jr. regressing. Jahmyr Gibbs regressed massively. Frank Royal comes out as a superstar. So we traded for a superstar. That's surprising. We got Trey McKinney, superstar development. Elijah Fletcher goes to superstar X Factor. So I mean, you know, we go into next year trying to improve this defense. We have the complete defensive line. Cole Beckham is expected to be a free agent. You know, what do we do with the other linebacker spot? This is going to be an interesting offseason because do we want to stick with the current quarterback or do we want to kind of restart? Let me know down below what you think we should do. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you're enjoying the Cardinals franchise, let me know down below. Guys, I will see you in the next one.